Welcome to the show radio. And now, here is your host, Andrew Alliance.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to episode 240 of the show radio. I'm your host, Andrew, editor-in-chief of the show radio. This is episode 240 of the show radio. Thanks for downloading it. Wherever you're listening from, east, west, north, south, I really do appreciate it. This is your source for tech, gaming, and entertainment news, and I really do appreciate the fact that you are spending some time here. It is really appreciated. My goal here is to forge intentional relationships while I cover tech, gaming, and entertainment. So welcome to this episode of the show radio. This particular episode, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be dealing with directly with the news that quote-unquote broke the internet. I don't know. Are we still saying that? This news broke the internet? That news broke the internet. I don't know if we're still saying that. I guess I'll say it for this particular episode's sake. But welcome to this episode. I am going to be chatting about, I guess, my speculations, concerns, and feelings, if you will, about the fact that Hideo Kojima, the icon, one of the best video game creators, producers, writers, designers of our time, and just everything that he's done for me, I guess, as a gamer, you know, especially playing Metal Gear and stuff like that. You know, I've always enjoyed that particular series. And to hear the recent news and things that unfolded at the particular company, Konami Digital Entertainment and Kojima Productions and all those things that are going on in that space, I definitely want to just touch on that a little bit. And then just definitely do some, you know, facts and stuff like that, and then definitely some opinions in regarding to this particular news. So, episode 240, dealing directly with Hideo Kojima, the video game designer, writer, and producer. Originally employed at Konami, he is, or was, I'm not even sure at this point, the director of Kojima Productions, promoted to vice president of Konami Digital Entertainment in early 2011, known for works like Zone of Enders, Castlevania, Boktai, Tokimeki, Snatcher, Police Knots, and of course, my beloved series of all time, whenever it comes to Konami, that is Metal Gear, one of my favorites of all time. One of the things that I learned very recently is that the Metal Gears that I played, the first Metal Gear that I ever played, the one for Nintendo, he didn't directly work on. So all you fact checkers out there, definitely check that. That one, and of course, the one after that, Snake's Revenge or something like that. He didn't work on the first two Nintendo titles, and here's the thing with that. I guess I'm thinking out loud. Obviously, the fact that he didn't work on those two titles and they did okay, and his hands weren't in it. Whenever Kojima works on a Metal Gear title, it's absolutely fantastic and phenomenal, because when Snake's Revenge was introduced into the mix, it wasn't necessarily part of the Metal Gear timeline, whatever that timeline is. And if you know what that timeline is, fantastic, because I don't. You know, I don't even know how to follow Metal Gear timeline. So if there's a website or something like that, maybe I should Google that for a particular Metal Gear timeline. But Snake's Revenge was not necessarily part of that, you know, whole thing, because every Metal Gear title that has Hideo's, you know, stamp of approval on it is always a stealth game, you know, mostly a stealth game. And one of the things that he's really great at, known for, a legend for, even to this day, is the fact that he's able to take a video game and the cinematic experience and make a hybrid out of it, and it comes out to be, you know, the best thing since, you know, maybe sliced bread, maybe. Who knows? But the fact of the matter is, you know, all the things that are surrounding his name right now and what he's going to be doing in the near future, I definitely want to touch on that. And as I'm talking about this thing, you're building it with me, because I'm still a little confused about this whole fallout, right? So as I mentioned, the first two Nintendo games he didn't necessarily work on. He didn't have his hands on at all. I guess it did okay, but the first Metal Gear, for me, for Nintendo, is the one that really caught my attention. That one, to me, was pretty cool. I liked it. It got me hooked. And then from there, all the Metal Gears that, you know, followed that, including, you know, what's getting ready to come, which is Metal Gear 5, The Phantom Pain. But here's the scoop. It's kind of like a lead-in, right? You know, I guess you can take it as a lead-in. So the current scoop, as of the 19th of March, there was a fallout between Konami Productions and its publisher, Konami. I said Konami Production, didn't I? Kojima Productions and its publisher, Konami. There was a power struggle, if you will, a fallout with the senior staff. And from there were access as far as internet is concerned, emails and phone calls. Those things were restricted. Key developers at the studio, including Hideo Kojima, will now have limited opportunities to promote Metal Gear 5, which is sad, which is kind of sad because the thing with that is if you know for a fact that Hideo Kojima is getting ready to come into town and promote the game, you know, the crowd that would draw versus him not being there, that's kind of sad to me. To me, that's kind of sad, especially if he's coming to like New York City or something like that. If he ever, you know, does that, you know, now that the promotion opportunities are limited, how exciting is that? You know, it's not that exciting. Severe actions were taken, including amending the employee status, including amending the employee status of its Metal Gear team. So he may not be any longer the director of Kojima Productions, which is really just watching that What am I saying? Watching that unfold is kind of sad to me. You know, just watching this whole thing unfold. So severe actions were taken, including amending the employee status of its Metal Gear team. This affected the senior staff at the studio, including Kojima, who currently works as a contractor. So he went from being the dude, okay, being the man, if you will, to a temp employee. So he's contracted until, the end of Metal Gear 5. And then from there, he, you know, as we'll learn later on, he'll still be working on other Metal Gear things. But now he's a temp at the company, which just doesn't make any sense to me. So because the senior staff or temp employees now have limited access to the company resources, company being Konami, once the Phantom Pain project is finished, the management at the studio will most likely go their separate ways, which is what's, that's the story right now. So now another thing that's been happening or it's already done at this point is the branding for Kojima Production that was removed from the Twitter. A new Twitter account was created. The Metal Gear site was adjusted as far as branding is concerned, removing Kojima Production stuff, and even the LA office listing that was adjusted to removing the Kojima Production stuff. So all these things are changing in real time, and the news really affected a lot of individuals. Even you listening right now, you know, if you're a big fan of Metal Gear and you're watching this thing play out, what will happen if Kojima becomes a free agent, you know, out there in the video game industry, whatever that means as a industry guy. So there's a shift happening right now, which, you know, it may not be related in any way, shape, or form. You know, my ultimate dream is for Kojima to actually go work with the Infinity Ward people. That's a dream. Now, if you have not listened to the last episode, 239, you can check that out at theshowradio.info/239, which I dealt with the fact that I still believe that Modern Warfare 2, to me, in my personal opinion, right, which is what we're doing here, and some of you may agree with my opinion, which is interesting, I still believe that Modern Warfare 2 is still, even till this day, the new black, right? And what was interesting about that statement is someone actually checked out the heading of that title, of that copy, if you will, and they said to me, well, that's kind of racist. And I shook my head, you know, SMH or whatever, and then I sent them kind of like the definition of what the new black is, and he goes, well, I was only kidding. I'm like, I'm glad you were kidding, because if I had to explain this thing to you, you know, because a lot of things in this world today, because Google's so great and Google's so huge in terms of its indexing and libraries and all those things, there's a lot of things that people don't necessarily have to explain, because you can just go Google it and figure out exactly what it means. So next time you're in conversation, you could be like, oh yeah, I know what you're saying. Yeah, I know what you're saying, that kind of a thing. So anyway, branding for Kojima Production was removed, and a new Twitter account was created for the Metal Gear series. For the branding was changed on the Metal Gear site and the LA office listings and stuff. So what I was saying. So yeah, I was saying that I was doing that so I can go back to what I was thinking about. Okay, so Metal Gear Modern Warfare 2, I still believe is one of the greatest Modern Warfares to date. And I kind of expanded on that with some facts and some numbers, some actual numbers, and the numbers. As I mentioned in the last episode, I think, and then also part of that episode, I actually said that it was 238 when it was actually 239, you know, so I apologize for that. I guess when you go back and listen to it, you know what I mean. But I still believe that that Modern Warfare 2 is one of the greatest Modern Warfares ever right now at this point. So why am I bringing it into this conversation? Well, I'm bringing it into this conversation because one of the recent designers or lead designers actually went back to the company, who left the company when that whole debacle situation, crazy whatever, lawsuits and all that stuff that was happening back in the early Modern Warfare 2 days or whatever. One of the lead dudes went back, right? And I'm going to try to remember to put that link in the show notes. So that dude went back, and apparently everything is cool now. So he's back into the mix or whatever. What does that mean? Are we going to get a HD res super Modern Warfare 2 version for the next generation console? That would be great. But a lot of these changes are taking place. Cliff Bleszinski is doing his new project, and he's back working in the not Unreal Tournament per se, but the Unreal Engine. He's back, technically, somewhat to some degree, working with Epic again. So a lot of the major dudes and probably dudettes that I'm not necessarily, aware of at this point are going back to work on things that they're familiar with. But this particular news here, actually throws me off, because if Hideo Kojima becomes a contractor, which he is now, he's a temp, and all these changes are being done, limited access here, the Phantom Pain project is he's still going to be working on that. Management of the studio may go their separate ways. All these things are taking place now. Well, how would that affect, what does that mean? If he becomes a free agent, where is he going to go? Is he going to create his own thing? Maybe, maybe not. So, an expanded statement, from Konami. I'm actually just going to pull some more out of it. Some things I put in bold here for whatever reason. They stuck out to me. And it said, as we have already announced, we are shifting our production structure. Okay, so obviously we see that because of the contract employees now, in the production structure, if you will, to a headquarter control system. So they want to have more hands-on, things in regards to that. That's what that kind of language means to me, if you will, in order to establish a steadfast, something more consistent, if you will, operating base capable of responding to rapid market changes. And I put that in bold, rapid market changes. And to me, what that means in terms of marketing talk is, if the company wants to pivot in a certain direction, they can do that easier if they have contracted employees rather than long-term employees to some degree. Because, maybe they can or maybe they cannot, but that's how I was thinking about it, because whether you have a temp or a long-term employee, it's easier to make shifts with the temps than it is to the long-term employees, right? To me. Maybe you disagree, I don't know. But to me, that makes more sense. Rapid market changes that surround a digital entertainment business, so they could pivot better to make different decisions according to the company and different things that they're trying to do and things of that nature. So that's what it means to me. So when you take the whole senior staff of this game or this series that's brought so much joy, so much cosplay, so much memories, so much impact to the industry as a whole, in terms of iconic, legendary, and all that stuff. You throw all that in the mix when you talk about Hideo Kojima, and now he's a temp employee now, contracted. He's going to continue working on Metal Gear 5 until it's over. I guess that's the consensus or the agreement or whatever. And then looking forward, we're looking for future announcement of what that means, right? So finishing that particular press talk, it says, rapid market changes that surround our digital entertainment business. Konami Digital Entertainment, including Mr. Kojima, will continue to develop and support Metal Gear products. So you continue to develop and support Metal Gear products. But to what end, right? Till his contract's over? Is he always going to do that? I don't know. So these are speculations that I have that I'm thinking about, with you, real time, if you will. So let's look forward to future announcements. So the next thing that came out, this particular press release was released on March 20th, 2015. Notification regarding Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain. Okay, so I didn't really bold anything here, but I just want to go over it real quick. And then what I'll do is do a little history. I'll probably attach an audio clip of a little history of Hideo Kojima when he was younger, and how he came into the industry. I think he was in economics or something like that. And he came into the industry. He failed his first game. They laughed at Metal Gear. Metal Gear became a great success. And then the rest is history from there. That's kind of like, his history and stuff. He was kind of like a latchkey kid, if you will. Whenever he goes into hotels, he likes to put the TV on because he doesn't like to be lonely. And I think, he's not alone. A lot of people suffer through that and, get help for that or whatever. So a little history of Hideo Kojima, if you will. But I'm definitely going to attach an audio that's going to, talk about how iconic and legendary the Metal Gear series has been in our lives, your lives, my life as well. So definitely going to attach that. So this particular press release, as I mentioned, 3/20/2015, that's the date it was released. Thank you for your continued patronage of Konami products and services. The latest title, Metal Gear series, Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain. That says, what does it say? Will be released as planned. Okay. Starting on Tuesday, September 1st, 2015 in North America, Latin America, and Europe, followed by Japan and Asia on Wednesday, September 2nd. And it says, very specifically, Hideo Kojima will remain involved throughout. So throughout the entire process, it doesn't say to what degree, obviously, because this is a general press release. He will be involved throughout the entire project, right? That's what it says, throughout. Okay, and it says, in addition, Konami Digital Entertainment Co. will continue to develop and distribute top-quality content in the Metal Gear series following Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain. We greatly anticipate and deeply appreciate your ongoing support for Metal Gear. Of course, Metal Gear is going to be absolutely fantastic. I guess... And then the next thing it says here, the next step in the series, Konami has already resolved to develop a new Metal Gear title. So they already have something else being worked on. Now, will Hideo Kojima be in that? We hope. Is his contract every year or every game cycle? How is this contract going to work now? Questions to be answered, speculations. We will see these things as they unfold. And it says, we will be conducting, and this is the thing that kind of, concerned me. It says, we will be conducting auditions for main staff to lead the development. So why? You already have one of the best individuals. Okay, so almost 3 decades of awesome, okay, Hideo Kojima brought to the world, if you will, through Konami or however Konami Productions or Kojima Productions, Konami or whatever. So almost 3 decades of awesome. This says we will be conducting auditions for main staff to lead the development. That makes no sense to me because that makes no sense to me. So if you go backwards, if you go from having Hideo Kojima contracted, he leaves, he's no longer contracted, and then now you're going to bring in auditions. You're gonna hold auditions for main staff to lead the actual development or oversee it, however you want to word that. You want to word that personally. That concerns me. That concerns me. Now, okay, just a tangent, which is completely unrelated. Uncharted 4, as you already know, that's delayed. There's a lot of why did I bring Uncharted 4? So I have to think this out loud. Work with me here. Okay, so Uncharted 4 is delayed, and a lot of names, a lot of different individuals moving in different areas of major games that we fell in love with. Okay, that's why I brought it up. Major games that we fell in love with, and because we fell in love with these major games, all these shifts of people, pockets of people that we know for a fact were very great contributors to the games that we've known and loved. We have a high level of concern when it comes to how we're going to enjoy that game in the near future, right? It's a healthy concern, especially when it comes to games like Metal Gear, Uncharted, even Call of Duty, if that's your thing. Maybe there were some shifts in Halo, or even shifts in lead writers and probably Destiny and all those things. All these things are major concerns when it comes to the individuals who are going to be buying the game and bringing it home and playing it for however long and enjoying it, for what it is, whatever that experience is going to be in the near future. So far, we've seen clips, we've seen video, we've seen a couple of things that, has us really excited for Metal Gear. But how much is that going to change in the next development cycle for the next games? So what will this mean? What would this mean overall when it comes to Hideo Kojima and his hands to the series? Why is this so important to make those changes right now? Whatever, you see, my thing is this: whatever the power struggle is, you have to come to a resolution that benefits everybody. It has to benefit the company. It has to benefit the individuals who are going to be buying the product. If it doesn't, then there's going to be some issues that are going to come later on, and we're going to see these things unfold real time when people start leaving. Major writers start leaving, major developers start leaving, lawsuits starts taking place, and all these different things that happen in all these different companies that we love and enjoy today. So now, so technically, based on what we have right now in terms of press release that or news that released between the 19th and the 20th of March, all we know now is Hideo Kojima is a temp employee, okay, who can kind of leave at any time. Once his contract is done, then what? He can go, right? I mean, to me, that's what that means. So if he leaves, what does his free agency mean to the game industry? I think that's going to be something that we'll definitely have to keep our eyes on, because when I look at the game industry and I think of individuals who have shaped like our way of thinking when it comes to gaming and stuff like that, or the way we look at storytelling, real time, well, game time, not necessarily real time, but game time, if you will. We think of, iconic games. Like one of the games that influenced them earlier on was Super Mario, obviously, which influenced a lot of people, influenced me, even, coming into, the gaming industry, whatever that means, coming into the gaming industry. Because I don't see myself in the gaming industry. I'm not in the gaming industry. I'm just a dude who loves, the game industry to the point where I record a show about it. I'm not technically in the game industry. I'm affiliated with certain brands who are in the gaming industry. I don't know if I'm necessarily in the gaming industry. You know what I mean? Because so when people stroll around with that title, okay, so now I'm going off. I know I'm going off. So when people stroll around with that title that they're in the game industry, and technically they're not, what does that mean, being in the game industry? I don't know what that means. If you mean like you're getting a check cut for you from the gaming industry, like for a company like Nintendo, whatever, PlayStation, Konami, okay, that you're getting a check cut and it says that, and that's what it means to be in the gaming industry, then technically I am not in the gaming industry, right? But if it means that you're affiliated with a certain brand and you're in the community of the gaming community, and you call that the gaming industry, then maybe technically I'm in the gaming industry. But that's it is what it is. All right. So interested parties are encouraged to contact us via the recruitment page of the Konami official website. That's what the end of that press release says. So I believe that this is going to infect. Maybe it might infect, but I believe that this is going to affect the game industry and community as a whole, because of Hideo Kojima's legendary resume, right? When we look back at it, I think that it's going to hurt it a little bit. I don't know if it's going to hurt sales as much. Obviously, I'm speculating, and looking ahead. I don't know if it's going to affect sales that much when it comes to Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain. I think we're still going to go out and get it. Or we're still going to get it for review, if that's the camp that you're in or whatever. Or we're still going to get it as gifts, if that's the camp that you're in or whatever. I think we're still going to be involved in the process of enjoying the game. But in terms of the leadership, now let's be real. The only individuals who care about this stuff is individuals who listen to podcasts and who are constantly reading news, whether you're going on a big website, little website, indie website. We're the only ones that really care to some degree what happens to leadership and all these individuals. The fact that you're listening to this show right now, right? You care about this stuff. The individual who's just going to go buy Metal Gear 5 has no idea, okay, that Hideo Kojima went from, being the director of Kojima Productions to a temp employee. He doesn't care, or she doesn't care. We're the only ones paying attention to these things. The individuals who are technically in the gaming industry, right? So let's see what happens. Let's continue looking at it. I guess objectively, let's continue having conversations about it, because these conversations are always good. Do you think this means something? I guess I'll leave it here. Do you think this is going to help or hurt the industry? Do you think Hideo Kojima's free agency is going to affect us in any way, shape, or form? I guess these are the questions that I'll leave you with. So what you'll hear next is a clip as far as Hideo Kojima's history, I guess early Metal Gear, when he was young, when he first started working in the gaming industry. You're going to hear a little history. about that. And that's pretty much it. I guess I'll close it out here. Definitely thank you for listening to this particular edition of the show radio. This is episode 240. Thanks for listening. I really do appreciate it. Definitely, thanks for stopping by. Let me know what you think about, episode 240, 239, 238, 237. I guess I'll go back 3 or 4, depending on how long you've been listening. If you do, enjoy what you hear, please, if you can, definitely leave a review on iTunes. Those things really help individuals see the show, enjoy the show like you enjoy the show, and I hope you're enjoying the show. Definitely means a lot to me. So if you want to see past archives and stuff like that, you can go to theshowradio.info and you'll find past archives there, blog posts, obviously, show posts and subscription links, subscription links with iTunes and other links like, Pocket Cast, Overcast, TuneIn, Stitcher, and all those things. You can find all those on theshowradio.info. So thanks for listening, guys, gals. See you next time.
He started off as an outcast.
When I was hired as a planner, no one else was called that. Back then, it wasn't easy for me to fit into a group. People sort of accused and attacked me as being this guy that didn't have any technological skills.
Whose ideas were far ahead of their time.
I would think that a video game idea like that where you don't kill anybody, that was probably a tough sell for Hideo Kojima.
I know a lot of people complain that there was too much dialogue in the game, or the dialogue was, a little bit cheesy.
It was just getting very frustrating and tough for me. I began thinking about leaving the company.
But Hideo Kojima's ideas will create one of the greatest gaming series of all time.
The whole industry is still reeling from the impact that Metal Gear Solid has done for the video game industry.
He is an icon, there's no question.
What comes from this point onwards is just going to be amazing.
This is the story of Hideo Kojima's Metal Gear Solid franchise. It's the turbulent 60s when a man named Hideo Kojima is born.
I was born in Tokyo in 1963 and lived there up until I was 3. And then I moved to Western Japan, and that's where I grew up.
He is introduced to the silver screen early in life.
When I was a baby boy, I was forced by my parents to watch films even before I knew who I was. So I grew up on movies.
While Kojima is studying economics in college, he discovers a new love.
I had a lot of free time, and that's when I started playing video games. Namely, games on the Famicom. The game that changed my life, the game of my destiny, was Shigeru Miyamoto's Super Mario Bros. Until then, I pretty much had the notion that film and video games were separate entities. But then, I realized that even in video games, I could do creative things just like they're done in the movies.
He has such a great mind for storytelling that I just think that his mind's always going and he's always taking everything in and analyzing it and thinking of ways he can use that in a story.
Kojima decides to pursue a career in the game industry, much to the surprise of his friends.
I was part of an economics seminar during my 4th year in college when I told my professor and colleagues that I was going to join the video game industry. They told me, "No way, stop and think twice about what you're doing." I joined Konami in 1986.
But the aspiring game designer has some problems fitting in at first.
Everyone sort of did everything back then, and when I was hired as a planner, no one else was called that. Back then, it wasn't easy for me to fit into a group. People sort of accused and attacked me as being this guy that didn't have any technological skills.
His first project is a near disaster.
I was given this particular game plan, and I worked on it for 6 months. But the thing was, I didn't know anything about memory space in a game or the actual method of how to assemble a game and put together a game. I never thought about the actual schedule or timeline of when to do what. Then my boss called me and said, sorry, they were dropping my game plan, and this was my first big challenge. I was the only one in the company who had never had any of his games released. And people, instead of saying hi, would come and say, at least complete one game before you die.
Kojima is given one more chance.
After the game was dropped, the company came to me and told me to create a combat game based on war. If I were to work on a game based on war, I wanted to do something more like The Great Escape, where you actually run away instead of shoot. When I came up with this game plan, my superiors in the company said, this rookie's already failed on one project, and now he's trying to come up with this weird concept where you don't fight, but you run away.
I would think that trying to sell a video game idea like that where you don't kill anybody and you are, in stealth mode the whole time, I think that was probably a tough sell for Hideo Kojima at first.
Near the end of the year, it was just getting very frustrating and tough for me. I began thinking about leaving the company, and I talked to one of my superiors. He helped me and gave me some advice, and eventually it all worked out in the end, I guess, with Metal Gear.
Kojima comes up with the idea of a stealth action game where players take the role of Solid Snake, a special forces operative who must defeat a walking nuclear tank called Metal Gear.
After 2 or 3 months of development, the game started moving. The game system was ready, and you could actually sneak around your character. And if the enemy saw you, you'd get the exclamation point above your head, and they'd start attacking you. When we got to this point, the team members played it, and they said, "Oh my god, this could be a great game." And from then on, development went really smooth.
Konami begins to warm up to Kojima's unique new game. But how will the public react? After a long, hard road, Kojima releases his first game in 1987, Metal Gear.
The game was for the MSX system. It wasn't a big market, but when the game came out, it was really well received, and was ranked like number 1 or 2 among all consumer software games in the adventure or RPG categories.
In 1988, Metal Gear makes its way to the US on the NES.
Metal Gear was very different from all of the games that were popular on the Famicom at that time because it was not a run-and-gun, all-out action game.
Since the MSX game of Metal Gear was very well received, Konami decided to port the game to the NES, and they got a completely different team to create the NES version of the game. It probably sold over 1 million copies in the US.
It's no surprise that Konami asks for a sequel.
And since the NES version of Metal Gear sold so well in the US, the sales force in the US said, "Please, do a sequel." They started working on a sequel, and that was Snake's Revenge. First of all, I did not work on either version of the 2 NES games at all.
So what they ended up producing was a game that was completely different. It was called Metal Gear 2 Snake's Revenge. The problem, of course, with this is that people who liked Metal Gear would play this and say, "What the heck is this? This isn't Metal Gear. This is just an action game." So that was kind of disappointing. Snake's Revenge is not part of the official Metal Gear timeline.
This guy I met on the train from the company said, "Kojima-san, I worked on Snake's Revenge, and I'm personally a big fan of your original game. I'd like to see a sequel to Metal Gear done by the real creator, Mr. Kojima." When he said that to me, the idea got into my head and I started thinking about a real sequel to the game. By the time I got off the train and went home, the entire storyline was fixed in my mind. So I went to my boss at Konami the next day with a game plan, and he said, "Yes, let's give it a go."
The only Metal Gear game that was not released in the United States yet was Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake, and this only appeared on the MSX system.
Metal Gear 2 was released in 1990. After that, I started working on Police Knots. That's when I started hearing rumors about the PlayStation.
In 1995, Sony gives birth to the 32-bit era by introducing the PlayStation. The powerful new system catches Kojima's eye.
When I saw how advanced these new systems coming out were, I started thinking about a new action game.
Kojima decides to revisit the Metal Gear franchise.
We established this company called Konami Computer Entertainment Japan in 1996 in Tokyo in order to develop Metal Gear Solid for the PlayStation. The PlayStation allowed me to do more things that I wanted to do for the whole infiltration experience. Since what I wanted to do was in 3D, I used these polygons to create a 3D environment.
To ensure Metal Gear Solid has a unique look, Kojima brings aboard a rookie designer named Yoji Shinkawa to create an unforgettable cast of characters.
Mr. Kojima interviewed me and said, "I'm now working on the Metal Gear project. Would you like to come and work for me?" I said, "Why not? Sure." So Metal Gear Solid happened to be the first game I worked on.
When we talk about the Metal Gear series, you also have to talk about Yoji Shinkawa. He really created the atmosphere of the world and the really memorable characters.
There's so many characters. Meryl was a really interesting character. It was really neat to see Kojima put that feminine element into the game, and I thought that it was a really great way to tell a love story while you're playing through all this action.
This is no time to try and hit on me, Snake.
Sniper Wolf was a great character as well. He gives all his characters a heart and a purpose, and you understand why they're doing the things that they're doing.
Catch you later, Ansel.
And the profound, twisted nature of the characters. They have problems, and some of them have sexual problems.
This is the greatest handgun ever made.
Some of them are absolutely nuts.
I'm losing myself.
Solid Snake gets a new look as well.
I tried to make Solid Snake as colorless as possible. If he has too many of his own characteristics, then the player won't be able to associate himself or herself to the character.
I actually did not think about color at all. I basically just wanted to recreate Solid Snake from the MSX series in my own way. I wanted to digest him, and then spit out this new Solid Snake.
Kojima is now ready to update the stealth action gameplay Metal Gear is known for. Little does he know that what he does will revolutionize gaming.
You're listening to The Show Radio. Visit our blog at theshowradio.info. Subscribe and rate us on iTunes at theshowradio.info/iTunes. theshowradio.info/iTunes.